Okay, here we go. One more installation of paint prints, and we're going to continue working on the color wheel. It's our second part of this. You can do this with oil paints, pastels, color pencils, watercolors, what we're going to work with, acrylic or even tempera paint. But we're going to finish up with our wonderful watercolor color wheel. We've got our last little bits to go. We're going to do with our intermediate colors and then go ahead and transition with the inside. I actually like to erase all this stuff out at the end. So that's kind of what I'm doing on mine. So, hey, let's get started. All right, so here we go. We are ready to go with a new new video here, last part of this. So I've got primarily my watercolor set up, but I want to make sure because I've already charged my panel. But here's what I want to do. I like to put a lot of water in just the top part of my tray. This is where I mix all of my colors. Now, some trays have a lot of areas to mix in, some do not. This tray is actually a pretty good one for that. Some of my portable ones are a little bit smaller, but you'll see me when I'm doing my other videos. That's what I use. Like for this one, I have a small section up here to start with. And then this one here, this is another one of my big kits that I use for travel. And I just keep a lot of the paints just right here all the time because I'm constantly painting with those. And I'm not worried about cleaning them out. We will definitely cover cleaning out at the end when we do this. So let's go ahead and start with our wonderful things. We're going to start with, if I go over here, I'm going to move my paint tray over. And I'm going to rotate this way so my watercolor, the mixing part, is closest to my actual watercolor. So I'm going to start here, and I've got a little bit of Kleenex or toilet tissue or something like that to just help me blot. So I'm going to start here with my red, probably my yellow and my orange. So a little bit of yellow, a little bit more. And then I'm going to rinse my brush. The key thing is to remember to rinse your brush really, really well. Try not to muddy up your colors. And then I've got orange because it's yellow and orange, and I'm going to mix my orange in a whole separate little section here. Now I can move these back and forth and muddy them up all I want. That's fine. It's my tray. We're just going to have to clean it out after. So I try to keep it a little bit easier so I can just get a nice even start. Remember, rinse that brush. Rinse that brush. Don't tap. Drag, or you can actually blot with your Kleenex. So I'm going to take some of this yellow because it is a yellow orange, and what we're trying to do is get more yellow in my orange than the actual orange. So that looks a little lighter, and I'm going to go and try this the dry way, see what's going to happen. Now notice I'm using a lot of my white of my paper to try and get that color in. I don't really like that much. Some of you might be more partial to getting a much lighter color with your watercolor, which that's the water. You can always go back over a watercolor with another color. I like a little bit more pigment, and I'm just going to lay that in there a little bit darker and come back to it. So that's my yellow orange. It looks more yellow than my orange, but it's not quite as yellow. So that's going to be kind of our little litmus test there. How are we going to make it look? All right. So I'm going to do orange. I've got orange, and I'm going to grab a little bit of red here. Now this is fun because I can just drag this straight off into here because I'm not going to use the orange again. I muddy it up. I don't care. I'm playing with this. Now I just want to make sure that this red orange looks more orange than my red and more red than more red orange than my orange. You get the gist. That's kind of how it's going to work. We just want to make sure that we understand mixing those two colors together is what's going to get what we need. And also, if you really need to get a lot of color up out of that, you can let it dry and you can always come back over it. You can always come back over. See how I'm just kind of picking some color up and I'm actually dropping a little bit in there, dropping some of the little, making a lot of color in there. The more water. As it dries out though, that water is going to dry out and it's going to probably make a different color. So you kind of want to be careful. When I picked up my watercolor earlier, you probably can't see it. Maybe a little bit right here. It actually bled down. I wasn't very careful, but that's okay. It's a color wheel. I'm playing around with it right now. Now I've got a little bit of yellow here and I need to use some of that green for my yellow green. So boom, I'm just going to throw some green right here. You know what I'm going to do? Drop it right in that yellow. Ooh, I love that. Makes me want some Skittles right now. And I'm feeling confident right now. I've got enough water in that I can keep this moving. The thing you don't want is to have a very dry, high pigment watercolor and trying to put it on paper because the dry on it is going to bleed and it's going to actually like leave a line. It's going to be really, really heavy. So right now I'm just going to drop some light colors in, lay some of that down and let it kind of go. And sometimes the colors come out more one way than another. Right now, we're just experimenting and playing, right? If I bring up my other one, you can see how the colors are slightly different, just a little bit, but we're kind of close in some. We're still getting our feel down for them, okay? But notice I let everything dry. I let my primaries and my secondaries dry first before I started throwing stuff in there. Blue, green. Oh, blue is going to be very, very powerful. So I got a lot of blue, and I'm going to drop in some of that green. Blue, green. And a little bit more blue, right? You know, it's mine. Blue, green. There we go. See, I had a little green left over right there. I was able to go back and scrub it out just a little bit. Now, when I say scrub, I don't mean like using a heavy scrub brush and tearing up the paper. With watercolor, you can reactivate a watercolor with just water because water is 90% water, 10% pigment. That means the color. So as I'm going to fill that in, just a little tiny bit of color is all you need. And if I just have a really good wet brush and just water on there, just straight water, it will clean out a section. It'll just kind of rub off some of that color for you. All right. Now I'm going to scoop my color wheel to the side because I only have two colors left, but I don't have any room left in my tray. Oh no. So I've got some Kleenex here. I'm going to, first things first, blot some of this color out. Because these are no longer pure colors. And we are trying to get basically a primary and a secondary mixed only. Now, if I've got a red, orange, or a yellow, green, or something like that, and I'm trying to build my colors from that, it's going to make a whole lot more work. And let's not do that, all right? We're just blotting out the colors right now, and I'm going to start fresh. Take a look right here. I'll bring it up so you can see it. See how this in the corner and right there has got paint and stuff in there? Watch, if I just take this watercolor brush, water brush, and just fill it up with more water. Just flood it and let that water sit there. It's no big deal. Just let it flood. Just let it flood all through there. And there we go. Boom. We're just letting it flood over and just fill it in. Get those colors nice and clean. Get that tray nice and clean. I'm trying to be careful, but I notice every now and then I'm flipping a little water out. So that's why I want to keep my watercolors far away from possible from my water tray, because if I do get some speckles on there, then what'll happen is it'll make a mess. Also, I'm resting my brush in the water on the tray. If you rest a brush like this in the bottom of a cup, it will actually bend the brush down. So I'm just going to rest that right there. Rinse, 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 clean, clean, clean. And now my trays are incredibly clean. Ready to go with a whole new color system. What am I using? Pull this back down. I need red violet and blue violet. That's it. Red violet, we're going to start with some water. Water, water, water. Get some spots in my tray kind of dosed up with some water. Boom, boom, boom. And now drop in just a hint of the red because I've got to make red violet. I'm going to put it right here. Really get that full. Rinse, rinse, rinse. So I need to make red violet, probably right here, and violet, and then blue violet. So let's get a little bit of that violet. Just drop it right here to start with. Ooh. But you can put it anywhere you want. It's your tray. And let's grab some of this red. Roll my brush over. Roll my brush over because it doesn't take much paint at all. I mean, almost none. So rinse that, rinse that, rinse that. And just take a little bit of this violet. That violet is incredibly powerful. Watch this. Boom. It will turn that over really, really fast. Rinse the brush every time before you touch that color. Because once you mess that color up, once you've got that down, it's down. Let's bring this down a little bit. Speaking of going down. Boom, boom, boom. And here we go. My color is very, very wet. Cleaning that up and dropping it down. Now, it's definitely more red violet, but I think it might be a little light. But I won't know until the end. I can look at my other copy right here. I can see that one. You can see where some of the colors bled out just a little bit, but that's okay. That's why we're practicing this. You just want to make sure your red violet has more red than the violet, and that it also has more violet than the actual violet, you know. So I mean, red and violet, these two are trying to create that. So let's hit blue violet. I've got a nice section of water right here. Touch the blue, bring the color in. Now these colors are going to blend very, very quickly and make a very, very dark, dark color. I can even blend, you know, I can blend it right here. Why not, right? Because I am just going to, that's the only color I'm going to use. Let's lay this down and see what happens. Ooh, I like that. And this is what most people think of when they say purple. Because purples, there's lots of different tints and shades of purples because it's kind of based on the blue violet. Here we go. And I have completed a color wheel. So now I know that my primaries are red, yellow, blue. Or wait, red, yellow, blue, orange, green, green, violet are my secondaries. And then my intermediates, yellow, green, blue, violet, red, orange, yellow, orange. And at this point, I really don't need my watercolor tray, so I'm going to put that to the side, set my watercolor up just a little bit while I clean this out. Because if I don't need the watercolor anymore, why would I just let that dry while I'm trying to put stuff up? Just clean, clean, clean. I blot out. The key thing is when you're doing this, always really, really clean the top of the tray first. Dry out as much of that stuff as possible. And then at the last minute, you can drop in some fresh, clean water and flood it. Because what you're doing is you're diluting down the watercolor pigment that's left in there. And we're just going to clean that out. Oh, I got a little crazy with my paintbrush. Trying to get some of those areas scrub, 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 nice and easy. Remember, it's just a paintbrush. It's not actually a scrub brush. So if you just get that wet and let that set, you'll be able to let it come back in, dilute that color out, and then clean everything up. Get a little water on my tabletop, clean that out too. And there. Now my watercolor tray is pretty wet right now. So if I sit there and close it and tilt it sideways, all the water that's in these trays are going to slide all through here and make a huge mess. So I like to close my tray up, very gentle like this, and then I leave it sitting in this upright position. I don't tilt it sideways, so that way it'll dry. Sometimes I'll just leave the tray open and just let it dry overnight. That's fine. So let's bring this down and finish up the wonderful color wheel. So, all right, we're going to start right here. And first thing I want to do, this is still a little wet, so I want to make sure I don't press too hard on it. I'm going to start with just my primaries. Nice, very hard, straight line, straight as I want. If you want to use the ruler, use the ruler. Sometimes I just like to make little arrows and have some fun with this. I'm going to change this one. Yeah, let's do some arrows this time. Why not? Red, yellow, blue, boom. And then now this diagonal line. This time I'm going to make my arrows really good. Make it very professional looking. And I like to use a dotted line for secondary. That way I know I can differentiate between the two. Primaries and secondaries. If you want to write your names out up here, you can. Feel free to. If you want to do a crazy font, why not? It's your color wheel. I mean, these are two of the exact same type color wheels. These colors are slightly off by just a little bit, but that's okay. That's why we're actually building on these. All right, so let's go ahead, pack our stuff up, and I don't know, let's just try something else. And, like I always say, let's get creative.